Welcome back to another exciting adventure in Clarissa Explains Everything. Some funny notes right now before I even start in on this is that this is the second time I've done this particular video and I haven't even watched the first one. But I sort of make the assumption that my first couple passes are going to be garbage. And then I get to pick from several that are good. If I do this many, many times, which is what I do. So that's funny to me. Now, I wanted to address something that sort of came up in the comments because, while I do sometimes look at the comments, I'm going to be honest, I don't look at most of them because I know what goes on in the YouTube comments section and I know that it's a cesspit. I'm not super interested in that, so I don't really bother. I'll tell this story in a second, but why am I running my mouth? Why do I make these videos an interlude or something? I have neither know nor care, right? I just work here. One of the big reasons that I make these videos specifically about the monkeys is because I was very complicit in the beginning. When the pandemic first started, of course, I was, like many other women in America, floundering for something to do with my time and with my heart and with a lot of things. And I tripped over these monkey videos, and at first I was like, this is really neat. I was taken in. I thought that they were rescuing these babies, and it was fantastic, and I was a huge fan of CM. And then I started learning the difference. And so now, because I know what's actually going on and because I understand the situation, and I also understand the mindset that leads to supporting this, I'm hoping to speak to other dumb Westerners like myself. People like me who have been watching these, who thought, oh my gosh, it was so cute. Why is this so bad? This is why, and I'm going to show you. That's the goal of these videos. Do I judge the people with the monkeys? Absolutely. I do. Because they know better. Almost all of them, I guarantee, know better. They make up these stories, they lie to us, and they're all about the money. And so I do judge them. I judge them as animal abusers. They are abusing innocent animals that have a particularly high intelligence and are much more like us than almost any other animals on the planet, too. So I feel like it's a double offense in that regard. So I do judge them, not culturally, though. I judge the individual for the individual action. At least that's my attempt. I'm aware of my implicit bias and I'm working on it, as the meme says. My approach, I really do try to make myself more educational. That is my background. That's actually what I enjoy doing. My two favorite things are teaching and writing, especially if I can teach and write about rocks. But anything scientific, especially earth science related, is going to be something that I will become didactic about. I'm a professor. It's what I do. Sometimes I have to have an attitude adjustment. That's what happened with the second video on the series, was I was far too grumpy the first time. And like I said, sometimes I have to make the video several times and then come back and decide on which iteration I like the best. Because I don't want to do the video editing thing. I like to do these as one long running. See, and I'm not going to take that out. At this point in time, if I were in my classroom, I think I've said this before, I would have thrown my whiteboard marker up in the air and gone, I quit, and walked out the door for a second and come back. Because that's usually what I do. I try to be funny. I'm trying to approach these from a sympathetic point of view, but sometimes that doesn't happen. And nobody is perfect, right? One of the things that I read about parenting was never tell your child they are a perfect angel, because no child is perfect, and that can make them think they need to be. So I always tell my child he's the best possible child we could have, that sort of thing. Just trying to avoid that, and I hope you guys don't get too much sound from my chair. I'm sitting in my office today. We'll see. So, with regards to some of the, I assume, and some that I have seen comments of people being like, oh, you're such a Karen, whatever, blah, 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 whatever. I guess suck eggs. I don't know. I have a goal here and I know what my goal is. And as a person on the spectrum, and I think I've mentioned this before, but I don't know, I need to do a video about it. I'm autistic. And so when I approach a problem, I almost always approach it with good intentions. I mean, like 99.9% of the time. I struggle to find situations where I don't approach it with honest and good intentions. I often fumble the application or the expression of it, but I try, right? Now, as far as YouTube, right? Like the metrics, I notice. I'm not an idiot. I'm going to look at it, and if nobody wants to watch videos of my kittens, which they're lost, I'm not going to make a bunch more videos of the kittens that nobody wants to watch. Now, the squirrels are kind of a different thing. If you go back, you can see lots and lots of videos, long videos even, of the eastern fox squirrels that lived in front of the apartment complex I lived at during the beginning of the pandemic. But, you know, I was really just reaching for something to do, and the squirrels kept me entertained. And they were pretty funny, too. I still enjoy watching some of those videos. So, you know, if nobody else watches them and I watch them, that's fine. But if I actually want to have a reach, and in this case I do, because I'm trying to do this bit right here, right? Speaking to other dumb Westerners, I'm going to make videos that other dumb Westerners are going to click on. Like I said, my intentions are usually good in terms of overall arch, but yeah, do I want to build a following? Do I want to monetize my channel? Duh. Of course I do. Do I think that's ever going to happen? Probably not. Do I care? Not really. No, I don't. Otherwise, I'd be making these videos a lot more regularly, right? But I don't, because that's difficult for me. So, again, I really just want to reach out to the dumb Westerners in the case of the monkey videos, and if that also happens to earn me a little bit of money, awesome, and if it doesn't, fine. But let's be clear. These reprobates are making large amounts of money abusing animals. Not just animals, but baby animals. Sit down. Also, it's kind of creepy when you talk about me in the third person in the comments, but again, since I don't really read them, I don't care. And then I just want to ask, before you come at me, keep a couple of things in mind. I am a college instructor. I teach college because I have advanced degrees. I have a master's degree and I am ABD on my PhD, which means that I am one journal article away from being doctor. And I can still use the title because I have passed my quals, but I don't. So if you're going to come to me and say, oh, are you an expert primatologist? You'd better be one. Bring your credentials before you're going to come questioning mine, and bring them double if you happen to have a Y chromosome, because I don't have any patience for mansplaining. I know what I'm talking about. I don't open my mouth and jab unless I know what I'm talking about. I am an expert. So bring your credentials, bring your sources, otherwise sit down. All right, so let's have fun, right? That was Mommy K being grumpus-ish? I don't know. We're talking. It's a dialogue. So let's talk about hygiene amongst the people who have these captive animals. You know, for today, I was going to do hygiene and do diapers and bathing and clothing, but of course, as is tradition, it got away from me, so now we're just going to focus on diapers for this particular video, and then the next one we'll actually go into the bathing part, which fun. So the first thing I want to point out is diapers are wildly unnatural for monkeys. And before you say, well, of course they're unnatural for humans too, they were engineered for people, right? We made them for our babies. They're designed with our needs in mind. They're not designed for monkeys. And monkeys have not had millions of years of evolution of their bathroom habits being controlled in that way. They have a very different past. Of course, because these things were not ever designed for the monkeys, they're typically the wrong size. And of course, the people making these videos, I want to point out, are not going to go out and get specialized equipment that is designed for the animals. They're not going to do that because that costs extra money. What they do is they find the absolute cheapest option because they're all about making money, right? Sometimes they don't even just use a diaper. They'll use an insert on the smaller babies where they just attach an insert to them. It's not even a full diaper. It's not meant to prevent leaks. It's supposed to go inside of a cloth diaper or, something else. They don't change them regularly, and this is really the bigger problem in terms of when we come back up to look at this whole unnatural thing. We're really more concerned with the fact that they don't change them regularly. And if you've ever had a child, you will know that you change the diaper on a human infant upwards on 10 times a day, sometimes as many as 12. You change them a lot. And that's one of the ways that you, of course, prevent diaper rash, but also what you're supposed to do when you take care of your kids, right? You don't let them sit in their feces and urine. But they don't do that on a lot of these channels. They don't change them regularly. Sometimes they will go days, and I have proof, I'll show you, of that They will go a long time in between changes. These animals are not getting changed regularly. They're being left to stew in their own waste. And they like to use, excuse me, I've had a cold the last couple days. Try not to make disgusting head noises. But they use the diapers to create drama both before the diaper change and during the diaper change. And I'll show you pictures to explain what I mean by that when we get there. This is sort of the outline. And what is it with these people and their weird obsession with monkey butts? I'll show you again what I mean. It's kind of bizarre. And we'll look at this again when we talk about bathing, because there's some serious issues in here and concerns that I have about a lot of these people and the threat they pose to the people around them, especially children. And then finally in this video, we'll talk about rashes, since they're very closely connected to diapers. Diapering in general, of course, is going to lead to rashes with these animals because C, not changed. They don't get changed regularly, so they're sitting there stewing in what is basically acid. Well, it's ammonia is going to be a base, but you get burns, you get chemical burns from this. Additionally, when they're fed poor diets, as they are, as we've seen, that can definitely lead to diarrhea and bloating and obesity and dental decay and vomiting. And, right, back to hygiene. Getting off on a track. So, and then the last thing we're going to talk about is how do you treat diaper rash and how do you use baby powder? And what do you do about the tail? Because most of these animals have tails, right? I mean, we have the long tails, we have pigtails, we do have stump tails, but most common in these videos are going to be the long tails and the pigtails. So I do want to give my content warning here at this point that diapers are icky. There's going to be some visuals of particularly heinous diaper rash and a couple of shots of non-graphic mutilations that were pretty nauseating to me. So here's, kind of what I'm talking about in terms of bad diaper rash, unchanged diapers, icky diapers, and diarrhea, and just general overfilling and disgustingness. So if that's not too bad, I think you'll be all right. So I want to step us back and look at nature for a macaque. And these are, I want to say tulk macaques, but they could be bonnet. I can't actually tell the two apart. They're very similar, but their hairstyle it's one of the two. And here we have a little family grouping. We have two moms and their infants. As you can see, their little butts down here. Here's a butt, there's a foot. And then two older juveniles here, and maybe another family member. And they're hanging out and they're grooming and they're just doing macaque things, right? It's a pretty normal day. If one of these two little babies hanging on their mama's tummy were to, let's look at that little butt right here. So let's see, we have a little turd that comes out. Where's it going to go? Onto the ground. Is it going to stay trapped against his little butt? No. Right? And even if it did, even if if it wasn't completely clean and there was something left sticking on, mom is quick to groom on them. They're constantly being groomed and kept clean, so they're never going to be sitting there in a soggy anything on their little butts. And if mom is not interested, well, there are other members of the troop that are happy to look after the little ones. That's kind of the way they do. Like I said, the diapers do not fit. As a rule, especially on the tiniest newborns, you end up with situations like this where they are just swimming in these diapers. They can't even walk in some situations, although this one, CM, particularly egregious of him. Not only is it too big for this poor little thing, he has, once again, as is his habit, abused the masking tape and taped up all of her fingers and toes because he doesn't want her sucking on them. But if he didn't want her sucking on them, maybe don't take her away from her mom. And of course, that diaper goes all the way up to her waist, or up to her armpit, sorry. Another one where it's so big, this poor little stumptail can't even walk. And this one, we have a teeny tiny female that they're cutting part of the diaper to make it fit better for her, but she has been beaten so badly she can't even move. It was really a bad one. This one, he's trying to pretend he's making custom diapers and that he really cares about this animal and stuff. He's also busy cutting the thing right while the baby's chewing on it, because that's what responsible parents do. So these diapers don't fit the monkeys. I also want to point out one thing back here. One of CM's little tricks right there. We'll come back to that when we talk about what do you do with the tail. Because I realized at the end, there is a third thing that they can do with the tail, and that's just stick it out to the side. Do you know how much poop can come out through that gap? All right, so how does one keep a diaper on a monkey when they don't fit and they're not intended for them? Well, there are three schools of thought on this that are dominant. Here we have one of them where we have a large rubber band and a smaller one with rubber bands holding the diaper insert on. So we're just going to, snug it down tight until it can't fall off. Not how it's meant to be done, but sure, why not? Other places, they will use tape to keep the diaper on the babies. Electrical tape, sometimes, most commonly just masking tape. CM's got a lot of influence, apparently the little, I won't say it. Not a fan, but by far the most common method of diaper attachment to infant macaques is via stapler, where they will staple up the sides. I don't care if they catch the baby's skin in the stapler, it's incidental. Although I don't see it happen particularly often, but, I didn't realize that the trick to keeping diapers on was to use office supplies. Obviously. I don't know. But, if you don't even have any of those, you can just tie a knot. I'm sure it'll be fine, especially if you keep your monkey so drugged that it can't even see straight. I mean, that's the face. That's the face of ketamine. But wait, what's this? I tripped over something, and I was surprised, and I thought, oh my gosh, we have a person getting diapers that might actually be appropriate for baby monkeys? What? Oh, wait, no, never mind. At least these fit this little one a little bit better. That's an improvement, but you're also dealing with a critically endangered species, which makes that, I'm gonna guess, a felony offense to have them. I don't know for sure about that country, but I do know that the stumptails are very endangered, and it is very much illegal to have them as pets. Pretty much everywhere. Now, like I said, they do not change these diapers very regularly, and you can see that in a lot of these pictures where we have this enormous bulging diaper right here because it's so full of pee. We have feces that's leaking out here. It's coming out there. Another one where this diaper is just completely overloaded and they're not doing anything about it. You can see here especially the feces that is coming out around the leg holes. That monkey has been wearing that diaper for so long. That takes time, and it takes time for it to dry like that. So we're talking probably a day or two, if not more, that they have left this poor little thing sitting in a soiled diaper. Fortunately for her, she's high as hell on ketamine right now, and you can tell. It's really obvious. See how she's doing this with her foot? The expression on her face, the way she's not reacting to basically anything. Those are all good indications of ketamine drugging. And I just want to also point out that this facial expression, just as a reminder, is not a smile. It is not a smile. This is the fear face. Remember, that is a scared animal. And they will let them get so full that they are heavy. You can see how bulging this thing is right here. And they're making this poor little thing stand on its two legs, which is just awful. The stripe, very obvious to any parent who has ever had a child in a diaper. And they throw her outside in a diaper. Outside and still in a diaper. And it's raining, so of course that diaper is going to get soaked. And then they're just going to make her wander around with this weight attached to her waist. It's just gross. Stupid chair being squeaky. Sometimes they'll throw, and these two, not even a month old. I mean, these are teeny tiny infants. They should be doing nothing but clinging to their mums and nursing. They're not going to be out running around playing in the rain. That's not what's happening. What's happening here is the people who have murdered their mom and abducted them and stapled them into diaper inserts, threw them out into the rain to film and pretend that they were playing. All the while, these poor little babies are frantically crawling after the person with the camera, trying to get picked up again. This one, she fell into a tub of water, and instead of, getting the diaper off of her, they took some time to film it and laugh as she waddled around with this entirely soaking diaper. And I just also want to point out from this picture, bipedal training is absolutely torture for these animals. That is not a natural position for them to be standing in. It hurts their hips. It causes damage. They should not be walking on two legs. As a rule, monkeys should be walking on four limbs. That's how they're designed. And they do this on purpose. They know that it hurts. They use it as a punishment pretty regularly. So Some more examples of diapers that have not been changed particularly regularly. You can see that they are all very full. And this one especially, this one is just the most heartbreaking of the lot. You can see as they pull the diaper off of this poor little girl that she is soaked to the waist up. Her fur is saturated with urine and feces. From the waist to her little hips, her tail, everything, she is soaked in waste. It is so disgusting. And this is typical because they don't want to change the diapers regularly because that costs them money. So they're going to let these animals sit in these and suffer. And the end result is the inevitable diaper rash. Now this poor little guy is just sitting here like, where'd that foot come from? And you'll notice, see that extended limb, that sort of absentness in his face. That's because he's been drugged on ketamine. And this boy over here knows. He says, you're high, and I would know. I know they didn't come out quite right. Because, you know, this expression also probably high on ketamine. I've seen several videos of this particular animal, and he's almost always doped. And then the diaper rashes. And of course, because they're not changing the diapers regularly, you're left with these really gross situations where they have their feces just caked onto their butts. Hang on, go back there. There we go. You know, and in this one, you can see that it is uncomfortable. It hurts, and she is trying to reach around to protect herself or himself. I can't remember which one that one is. This poor little pigtail. But that has been there for days. It is dried on, and it is painful to have this kind of diaper rash. This is the one that I was talking about, and I did not show the other pictures or clips from this particular video because it was so disgusting. Just looking at it, you could smell it. Like, I could smell it just by looking at it. It was so disgusting, and I didn't feel like that was appropriate. On Blast here says 3 days since filming the last bath. After having seen the other clips from this video, I absolutely believe them. 100% on point here. This is a 3-day-old diaper being left on this poor animal. It's revolting. And of course, they love drama. Drama gets them views. So what do? Well, the most popular one is to send a dog after the monkey after the diaper's been full. That's one of the reasons they will leave a full diaper on or leave a diaper on a monkey outside, is because the dogs will attack it and will go after it. I don't know if attack is the right word, but the dogs will go after it and try and get to the diaper to eat the poo because they like that, because dogs are kind of gross, and also because the people are encouraging them. So we have an older juvenile pigtail here. We have a teeny tiny infant stump tail and a teeny tiny infant long tail. All of them being literally given to the dogs to chew on with full diapers. Other times they will hook these diapers onto things and then claim that the animal got stuck there by accident. They didn't. They set him up for this. Same with this little one. That little baby did not get that diaper all caught and tangled and twisted all over that screw eye. They put it there and then tried to pretend it was an accident. And a funny thing happened. I was practicing these videos as I do, and I was showing them to my permanent roommate, and he goes, "Wait, isn't that illegal? Why don't you report them?" And I just stared at him for about 5 minutes. I'm like, oh, honey, of course we do. Constantly. It doesn't necessarily do as much as it could, but it is really important to report them and bring them down, even if they are going to bring up new channels. If nothing else, I want to annoy them. And of course, during the change, there's going to be massive amounts of drama. They're going to grab and choke and strangle these babies to try and make them stay still. They beat them. This particular couple is especially egregious. They like to slap this poor animal, drag him around by his ears. They'll almost pick him up off the ground by his little ears. And then, of course, this one, she's pulling that tail through the hole that she's made so hard that he slammed his head into the ground, and she's just yanking it like she's trying to yank it off. You know, and of course, sometimes they'll do an ice cold wash, just freezing cold water, no gloves, by the way, and she never used soap afterwards. So I suppose she kind of deserves this if she gets sick. That was rude. I shouldn't have said that. And then, of course, the most annoying one is where they like to give them an ice cold enema during their diaper change with a good solid spray of ice water up the butthole. And this poor little guy is probably pretty glad he's been drugged. It sucks a lot less when you're high on ketamine. And of course, their crummy diets are going to lead to all sorts of things, including the inevitable spit up. And as I've said before, macaques don't naturally spit up particularly often. It only happens when you're feeding them crummy diets and bad formula. And it causes the diarrhea. And in that video, they have notes about they know this animal is having diarrhea and they're not doing anything to fix it. Oh, we're so concerned, but we're going to let him sleep all night in that. Because that diaper right there did not fill up that fast in just a couple of minutes. That's hours. Sometimes it's not all bad, though, if they have diarrhea and poop on their captors. That's kind of funny. But it's also going to give them obesity and a bunch of other problems. Dental problems, there's one. Although this particular little guy, you should note that in addition to being hand-fed by the atrocious VOs every single day, he's missing his canines almost certainly because some tool took them out with pliers. So he wasn't biting people. They don't care about the animals. They do not. Oh, but then it is also good when the monkey poops on the stapler. That's pretty funny. Good job, Bebby. So all of this, the wearing of diapers, the not having them changed regularly, the poor diet and stuff leads to rashes. And these little babies get some pretty heinous diaper rash. It turns very, very red. Their bums get scabbed over. And somebody here really needs to see a professional about whatever is going on in this head right here that makes a monkey with a bleeding diaper rash funny. It's not funny. And laughing at it is disgusting. And these guys, they spend way too long rubbing whatever cream it is into this juvenile's butt while holding the tail up to make sure the whole butt is well and truly exposed because God knows we got to get our monkey butt time. The rashes get so bad that they will bleed. You can see it here, and they mention it in the video title. They know it's happening. This monkey is so rashy, there is blood, and it gets scabbed over. And, you want to treat diaper rash, right? You want to treat this. How do you treat diaper rash? We'll get there. I do get very concerned about some of these people and their obsession with the monkey's butthole. Like this one, she hasn't even really started diapering or anything, but she sits there for a good 2 or 3 minutes just stroking his butt. And then proceeds to take baby powder and rub it in. Which is not how baby powder works. Another one where we're rubbing the baby powder in, and this goes on for a ridiculous amount of time, like nauseating amount of time that they spend rubbing baby powder, which is not how baby powder works, into monkey butts. Just constant. And this one, we got to rub the butt. We got to rub the butt some more. Now let's get it up on the tail and rub it directly into the butthole because we're going to jam some baby powder in there and that'll help. It's just too much, right? And I have to say, in this particular little infant, tiny infant, has a bad rash. Human says don't have the money to get a cream, so I'm just going to let it dry out. But what she decides to do is let it dry out by groping, fingering, and stretching his little junk all over the place and blowing on it. And I just want to say Freud wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole and Simone de Beauvoir would like a word. And to any of my philosophy wags out there, I'll give you a minute to stop laughing about that. While we look at pictures of this woman playing with a monkey's flap. And penis. Okay, good. Let's make sure we rub some baby powder into it while we're groping him and blowing on him. Because she is literally that far away from him, blowing on his butthole. And I'm just letting that sink in because, holy cow, really, Simone de Beauvoir would like a word or 12. And I also want to point out at this point, I'm taking this juncture to remind everybody that child abusers are not only sexually interested in children. Children are targeted for sexual abuse because they are vulnerable. Oh, look. A vulnerable individual. So, and yes, for anybody who's curious, I absolutely am drawing parallels between the behavior of the people who abduct and abuse these animals and the behavior of people who abduct and abuse children. I think the mindset and the brain chemistry are probably very similar. Yeah. So some more rashes. As you can see, they get some pretty heinous, bright red, angry diaper rashes that are painful. And to treat them, there are many, 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 many ways you can deal with a diaper rash. My son used to get them every time he cut a new tooth when he was tiny, and we had a system of oatmeal baths and cream and no diaper time to make sure that his little buns didn't get so bad. But these people apparently like to use betadine to treat the diaper rash. Now, there's a problem with betadine. Betadine is a perfectly functional antiseptic. It doesn't particularly sting. It's relatively good at keeping infection at bay. But what it isn't good at is healing diaper rash, because without a barrier, you can't address the problem. Additionally, it can happen, as this article says. You're welcome to go slog through the details. It's a bit dry, but, science tends to be. The punchline is, when you put betadine on something and then put a diaper over it and the monkey sits on that all day, it actually causes more burns. It causes more problems. So how do we deal with diaper rash? Especially, how do I powder? Because that seems to be something people really struggle with, right? So, and again, if you have kids, a lot of this is going to be like, duh, because, but do's of treating diaper rash, right? Allow the bum to fully dry before rediapering. You don't want to put a diaper on a butt that's not completely dried out. And you want to make sure you're changing that diaper as soon as absolutely possible when it has been soiled, so that they're not sitting there with that yucko stuck to their skin any longer than they absolutely have to. And you want to use barrier treatments, such as petroleum jelly, lanolin, beeswax, cod liver oil, or AD cream. I think one of the videos they were using petroleum jelly, but it's really uncommon to see any of the videos using any of these things, except for that. Sometimes. Typically, they just use powder and then they rub it in. And that's not going to help. The point behind a barrier treatment is literally to put a coating between the little bum. Here we go. There's a little monkey bum and the liquid. And if you rub it all in, there's no barrier. You need a thick coat. Some channels I've seen do this. It's not common. My personal favorite has always been the cod liver oil AD mix. It stinks, but it does a really bang-up job. Zinc oxide can also be helpful. That's the white coloring that you'll see in baby powder a lot of times, in terms of antibacterial and antiviral action there as well. Don'ts of treating diaper rash. Don't leave the diaper on when it's soiled. Take it off right away. Don't use baby powder. Just don't. And I'll explain why in a minute. Handful of baby powder. You're bad. That moved. This, I have no idea. And this one was ridiculous because he was using this powder puff to powder the baby's butt. Oh, look, let's rub some more baby powder in, so they're obsessed with baby powder in these monkey places. And also don't use any antiseptic that is likely to cause chemical burns, such as betadine. And finally, don't put a diaper on a monkey. That'll save you a lot of problems. I really have to ask, what are you going to do with the baby powder there now that the diaper's already on? This baby's already been traumatized and stuffed into a diaper. You're going to rub it into her head? So in terms of baby powder, and this is from, I want to say, the Alberta, it's one of the Canadian provinces' national health page, and it's down in the descriptions. Do not use baby powder while your baby has a rash. The powder can build up in the skin folds and hold moisture. This lets bacteria grow. So baby powder is not something you actually want to use on baby bums. It's not good for that. So just as kind of a wrap up before we look at the tail thing and then call it good, is what a healthy infant macaque bum should look like. So here we have a long tail. He was just born literally in that video, so like minutes old, nice healthy bum. An older juvenile playing around. Again, you can see the color of his little wee willy. and another juvenile being weaned by mom who is not happy about it. But as you can see, if you look, their bums have a little bit of a pink to them, maybe a grayish, tannish, right? Definitely not this cherry red. That's not normal. That is a very bad rash, especially when you compare it to what should be. Those are huge differences. Juvenile pigtail and a newborn pigtail. She's about a day old. And you can see a little bit more peach, a little bit more pink. Definitely not that shade of red, and definitely not all scabbed up like that. So what they are doing to these animals is very harmful to the animals. It is unhealthy for them, and it is cruel. And they are babies. So now the last slide, and I'm going to give you another content warning here. The very last slide is very upsetting. I am still really disturbed by it. So it may be one you want to skip. What do we do about the tail? Well, in some situations, they just go, screw it, and say no tail, and don't even bother, and just let that tail sit there in the poop and pee. But it's a pigtail, not a no tail. Yeah. Others, they will cut a hole for the tail. Sometimes they do it before it's put on the animal, sometimes after, and then they grab that tail and just, yank it through. Of course, that, if you're putting a hole in the diaper, that's a place for feces to come out of. And then you can potentially even end up with the feces being concentrated right there at the base of the tail and causing an ulcer, as happened with this little baby. So how can you properly diaper a monkey? It's really easy. You don't. Again. All right, so here's the one that is really screwed up, and if you are at all sensitive, don't watch. I saw this clip come up in my feed, and I was sure it was fake. I was like, there's no way they could possibly, that's disgusting, that's revolting, they're going to chop this infant's tail off. No way, no way, no. Oh my God, they actually did it. They actually did it. These people, she wasn't even unconscious. They gave her a local, maybe. It's hard to tell. She's obviously in pain and scared. And they chopped her tail off. This is what they're doing. This is how they are treating these animals. This is abuse. It's disgusting. It's horrific. And we have to stop supporting it. So that's all I have to say about diapers. I will potentially be back with bathing at some point in the near future. Have a lovely day.